Everyone says Wi-Fi 7 will provide wire-like experience. Today we are going to test M5 MacBook Pro to see whether it's provide that kind of experience. So now my lab setup is, as you can see, I have my MacBook Pro which is connected to the wire, as well as it has a wireless interface. Now to testing point of view, I have another MacBook Pro with M2, so that's also wired connection. Now all these connections are 10 gigabits per second. So I'm using Thunderbolt to Ethernet kind of adapter to provide the 10 gig connectivity. Now the true question is the multi-link operation. So now question is this Apple N1 will be providing a true capability of aggregating these two bandwidth together, or is it limited by non-simultaneous transmit receive capability of this chip? Now wireless point of view, I have a Meraki access point again connected to the 10 gig connectivity. So all the wired connections here are 10 gig. So now what we are going to do is let's basically go ahead and test first wired connectivity. So let me just turn off my Wi-Fi. That way now this Wi-Fi interface has been turned off. So now let's give it a speed test. Now let me just go to the, so here is my MacBook M2 running open speed test server. So now let's go ahead and give a test. Now as you can see, like we are almost getting close to 10 gig, almost 9.7, 9.8. Now that's wire, you will always get no sort of a drop. You almost get a line rate in your wire network. Like now if you look at the ping response time and jitter as well, so you can show pretty much like a 1 millisecond kind of delay, no jitter as well. So now this is 9.7, 9.8 line rate. Now what we are going to do is, before basically taking a wireless test, so now in this particular setup, I have configured my SSID. Let me just show that as well onto 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. So in that way, now bandwidth point of view, I have provide, you can see I'm connected to the MRK-P SSID, which is configured for 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. Now channel width point of view, 5 gigahertz I have providing 80 megahertz and 6 gigahertz I have provided 160 megahertz. So now let's go ahead and take a packet capture while we are doing this particular test. In that way we can analyze the capability of this kind of client. I will go ahead and make it 300 seconds, but sometime it may not take that long. Now I'm saying Meraki MacBook Pro M5. I would say MLO, let's say -1. Now packet is being captured. So what I'm going to do is I will enable my Wi-Fi interface and connect into the MRK-P SSID. It took few seconds, but then it connected. Now if I check in here, connectivity, so you can see it connected channel 36, 80 megahertz. So now if I go and check the client here, let's double confirm. So now this is the MacBook Pro. Now you can see, like it appear to be client connected 5 gigahertz. So now if client connected 5 gigahertz, if I go back to the, now you can see with the 5 gigahertz, so maximum, like data rate you can achieve 1.2 gigabits per second. In that way, throughput point of view, so if it only using the 5 gigahertz link, probably will get bit less than 1.2 gig. So let's go ahead and do a speed test. Now I will disconnect my wire just to make sure. Now I am removing my wire connection. So now let me just go ahead and test the speed test. Now you can see, like I'm got connected to 5 gigahertz link. I'm getting 500, 300, 400, 500 meg kind of throughput. Now I want to upload as well. Let's wait upload test to be finished. I'm getting like 800, 900 with the upload. Okay. Now you can see ping response time is like 5 millisecond this time, bit of a jitter as well. So now just to reconfirm, I will go ahead and do a test one more time. Now you can see we got around 700 Mbps here, and then sudden drop like a 400, 500 meg. Yeah, 600. Now upload as well. Yeah, still you saw like it did not really cross 1 gig, but at least now when this testing happened, if you look at the spectrum, so let me just make sure, you can see 5 gigahertz being used, 6 gigahertz not being really used. So now client connected 5 gigahertz. Now I want to see whether if I disconnect and reconnect, whether I can get another connection, see whether if it still go to 6 gigahertz or still remaining in 5 gigahertz kind of that. Now in here as well, it's reported, it's like a 5 gigahertz, 80 megahertz bandwidth. So now it did not really go to 6 gigahertz. So now again, if you are doing a speed test one more time, I should expect similar kind of data rate value. So you can see now if I go to the spectrum while this is happening, only 5 gigahertz being used, no 6 gigahertz being in use. So now that appear to be, this is like a not a true STR kind of capability. It is basically sending traffic across a one link. Okay, so now let's check the packet capture. So I want to make sure assurance intelligent capture. Let's see whether the capture still maybe 5 minutes time has not been completed. So we can now one interesting thing you can see, like there's some association failure being automatically captured. That means this is something, like a Meraki specific, like they will, like this is my MAC address of the client, and then they will give us some summary of that. There's some client failure observed. Now they're saying this client successfully completed the initial connection process, but it's a personal data transmission issue after established connection, multiple malform packet, and potential data corruption. Now data transmission failure happened. Okay, so now that is something, like association response successful. Now let's have a look, they're complaining something that nature. We'll see in our capture whether we see those. Again, I'm going to the intelligent capture, stored capture. Now you can see that 5 minutes time has been expired. I will download it. Okay, this name has been previously used some other capture. I will say M5 MLO. Let's say NSTR, Non-Simultaneous Transmit Receive. That's what I noticed. Now in here, if I go to the packet capture, Now if we look at the association request, now you can see client, like I tried 2 times. Now initially both time they were trying to connect using 6 gigahertz link. You can see here, and then they're trying 5 gigahertz. When I try to second time disconnect and reconnect, they're trying to connect channel 6 gigahertz first, but due to some reason they go back to 5 gigahertz. Now if I want to basically capture both this scenario, so what you have to do is, like this is my 6 gigahertz client MAC address. So what I'm going to do is I will copy this MAC address, copy value, and in here if I look at tag parameters, they are trying to, in the multi-link element, they are trying to bring my 5 gigahertz link ID 1. Now if we look at the station control, now this is my 5 gigahertz MAC address. Now if I want to see both scenario, wlan.address equal to my 6 gigahertz MAC address, and I will copy this MAC address as well, copy this value. So now that value can be wlan addr equal to my 5 gigahertz MAC address. Now one thing in the first association request, you can see whenever he is requesting to bring 5 gigahertz, now he is including some bitmap value, they call non-simultaneous transmit receive. Now here is a link ID 1. Okay, so now the bitmap value for me, it is 100. That means third link, he is saying it is a non-simultaneous transmit pair. That means link ID 1 means 5 gigahertz, and in here bit value is 2. If you're converting this to binary, it is 0, 1, 0, 0. That means bit 0, bit 1, bit 2 position is 1. That means link ID 2 cannot be simultaneous transmit receive. So that means 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz links are NSTR pair. That's what client telling. Client saying I cannot do transmission across both links. That's what we saw as well. But interestingly, very first time it was failed the connection. Now if you look at basically now these two MAC addresses filter, now this will be the total traffic of this scenario. Now you can see here now channel is connecting 5 gigahertz and they are doing 4-way handshake as well. Now association response here should be a successful association. Now this is what Meraki also told us, even though it was a successful association in the multi-link as well, if you look at station profile, now status code successful. It appeared to be everything good, but now whenever they're trying to pass some data, we didn't really have they got IP addresses here because this is a Meraki capture. You can see all the detail, DHCP, DORA process, all these things. They get IP addresses. Then some malform packet, they couldn't really do some transmission. And then after some time, they are doing a re-authentication, second time trying. And this particular time, let's see association response frame. Now this particular time association rejected temporarily. Try again later. Now this is the time, now he's keep on sending some action frame, SA query messages. And then you can see somewhere here, around 19-second mark. Now they are trying on 6 gigahertz back, 5 gigahertz back. You can see. So now when client trying 5 gigahertz, he's sending a association request. Association request I cannot really see, but we can see the 4-way authentication, a probe request response, authentication, and association request. Now in here, when we look at the detail, so we can see the multi-link element. Now client is sending the link association request across 5 GHz link. If we look at the per station profile, he's adding a link ID 2. That means he want to bring 6 GHz into this multi-link association. But if you look at the station control field, you can see NSTR link pair present. That means even though this he want to bring this 6 GHz link, client is telling I cannot really do a simultaneous transmission. Now that can be confirmed in this bitmap here. Now we are sending a link ID 2, but if you convert this value into binary, this will be 0010. Okay, the second bit that means bit 0 and bit 1 is 1. That means bit 1 is 1 mean link ID 1. So he is saying I cannot do a simultaneous transmission on link ID 2 and link ID 1, which is 5 GHz link and 6 GHz link simultaneously. So Apple client is directly telling, so he cannot do transmission across 5 GHz and 6 GHz simultaneously. Now in this particular time, we can see association is successful. Now four-way handshake take place and then client passing data traffic. Okay, so now you can see the DHCP process keep on traffic sending 6 GHz link. Now this is a speed test kind of result. You can see the open speed test HTTP kind of those traffic. Port number 3000, that's what we're using for our testing. So you can see that. Now this is pretty much like those test result. And then we were trying again sometime later. You remember we basically switch off the wireless and switch on the wireless. Now that's sometime here. You can see I'm trying to do that, but again may not captured all the required frame. Like I would like to see the association request response kind of frame, but it appeared to be they are sending traffic across 6 GHz after some time. That's a bit of interesting, you know, like we are sending traffic across 6 GHz. But somehow after that as well, let me see whether that switch over. I'm looking at channel column here. Still 5 GHz. Now in here, they basically again reassociating to 6 GHz, 5 GHz here. In that way, when we do now channel 36, then traffic goes across channel 36. So now if I look at, you know, like IO statistics graph, let me just go to the IO graph and bring this here. Now I want to update this 6 GHz traffic. This is my 6 GHz MAC address. Let me update this MAC addresses here. And this should be 5 GHz MAC address. And then let's basically get rid of this filter here. Now you can see pretty much in here one particular time, you know, like there was some kind of 6 GHz link traffic, but again, you know, like this is the time where I time to switch off, you know, like but you can see pretty much 5 GHz is the one sending traffic here. Okay, all this 300 millisecond. I tried a couple of times. That's sort of a link traffic you can see. So let's get another capture just to check whether the client can go to 6 GHz band. So I will go to the intelligent capture and taking another capture this time as well. Let's set it to the 300-second worth of capture, and I will name it as a MLO NSTR number 2. So now let's get connected my client to the Meraki SSID. So I noticed, like it's taking a bit longer time. Now it got connected. So now let's click on the option button, press. Now you can see here, this time it connected to 160 megahertz. Okay. So now let's give it a speed test. While doing the speed test, I will monitor my 6 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz spectrum. So now this is my speed test server. Let's give it a try. You can see I'm getting a 1.5 gig, but if you look at the spectrum, so you can see only 6 gigahertz being used this time. Okay, this is again proving as a client is not able to send traffic across both band with like a non-simultaneous transmit receive capability, either 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz in use. So now let's see the speed test result. Now you can see double node, like again, if I do one more time, let's do it the test, that way. Now we got 1.5 uplink. Now let me just go ahead and give another test. I can see I'm getting 1.7, 1.6, 1.7. That's sort of a speed I am getting with this particular time. And upload as well, I am getting around 1516. So now just to summarize, what we saw, observation point of view. Now we did the sort of a speed test on the wired side. We got almost like a 1 gig kind or 10 gig kind of connectivity with a small delay and small jitter. But when we do the test on the wireless side, this is some other time I did the test, I got around this spec. So now important part is, now Apple client, when they're using 6 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, they're not able to aggregate those two. That's what we call non-simultaneous transmit receive capability. So when the traffic sending 6 gigahertz, it goes only 6 gigahertz only. When traffic sending 5 gigahertz, traffic sending 5 gigahertz only. Now, if you pay attention to the data rate value, the maximum data rate you can get is 2.4 gigabits per second. But we saw the throughput point of view, you are not normally getting exactly those values, because throughput always less because of some other management control overhead. Now we got around, in this testing, we got around 1.9. But in here, in the live test, we saw around 1.7 gigabits per second, like a 60-70 kind of percent of throughput of the data rate. Now, if you have a 5 gigahertz link, 80 megahertz, maximum you can get is 1.2 gig. But we saw our testing, it was around 500-600 meg. So now, in that way, in summary, you will get, more than 1 gig if you have a 160 or 160 kind of megahertz bandwidth. But if you have 80 megahertz, more like a 500-600 kind of throughput value. So that way, it's not exactly same as wire kind of performance, but at least, a Wi-Fi 7 perspective. So you have a specific kind of operation in here called non-simultaneous transmit and receive, NSTR. That's what appear to be Apple N1 chip is capable of, specifically when it comes to 5 gigahertz and 6 gigahertz. This is the most common band you enable for your critical SSIDs. Now, before closing this video, let's look at the capture we took the second time. Now, if I go to the packet capture, now if I, probably this should be now, if I refresh and go to stored capture, now it appeared to be like 5 minutes has not been passed. So let's give it a little bit of a time just to finish this testing. And in here, if I show you the sort of a detail here. When you press the option button, you can see I'm getting like around neg 40 kind of dBm signal sent. That means I'm very close to the access point. Okay, so like a 1 meter away from the access point, I'm getting supposed to get 2.4 data rate value, but throughput point of view, you saw it's basically around. Now you can see has been finished that timer. Let's download. And save this capture and then open this capture as well. Now NSTR number 2. Now in this particular time, if you look at, I'm going to management association request. Now you can see this capture as well, client connected to 5 gigahertz or channel 5 means 6 gigahertz. And then I can see, like my client point of view, this MAC address specific, that's the only association request I can see went across 6 gigahertz link. Now if I expanded this here, now you can see there's a multi-link element. Now he's including a per station profile with a link ID 1, which is now he's going across 5 gigahertz as a channel 5, 6 gigahertz link, and he want to bring 5 gigahertz link. But if you look at the station info, you can see he's indicating NSTR bitmap. That means non-simultaneous transmit receive bitmap, the value being number 4. That means bit 0, bit 1, bit 2. So bit 2 position 1, that means the link ID 2 and this one is a NSTR pair. That means 5 gigahertz link and 6 gigahertz link is a NSTR. That means simultaneously you cannot transmit and receive across these both bands. Now if you want to filter again the traffic, now you can see my client MAC address in the 6 gigahertz is 8D69. If I copy this value and if I may already have the filter value. Now this is a different filter value. This is appear to be the transmit address 8D69, or I need to use 0A3B. Copy value, this address. Now if I filter for this will be my total traffic. So you can see they're trying to authenticate, association, request response, four-way handshake, and passing traffic this time. You can see across channel number 5. Now if we look at the IO statistics graph this time, statistics IO graph. Now ideally if I want to see this particular two, I need to update these MAC addresses. I'll just update the 6 gigahertz MAC address. That's my 6 gigahertz. Now this is my 5 gigahertz. So once you filter those two, you can get rid of this filter. Now you can see in this particular time, client sending traffic across 6 gigahertz only. Okay. So in that way, it's very clear. It is not both band. In that way, if you have a sort of a 10 gig kind of backbone link, you will get more than 1 gig. But again, you will not get 2.4 maximum theoretical rate, data rate. You will come close to 1.5, 1.7, close to 2 gig. That's what you can expect if there's a good RF condition. So that way, I hope this video is useful just to understand Apple N1 client capability. So, which is pretty much what we call NSTR. That means not able to use both links simultaneously. specifically when it comes to 5 GHz and 6 GHz. So until I see you another video, take care.